Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for everyone being here. It's lovely to find out that through the morning the number of participants has grown, and that's exactly the idea. It's a morning of collective sharing, of listening to each other and learning from each other. And essentially that's what BRAZ TESOL is about and has always been about, the possibility of ensuring our own professional development through the collective work we do with the chapters and the SIGs. And actually, we've had a number of people talking about professional development, and I'm also going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it from a completely sort of different perspective in a way. I'm going to talk about it from a more personal point of view, but trying to draw parallels. So I've entitled it A Walk on the Wild Side because I've been in the career for over 25 years now. And it has been a walk on the wild side because you really never know quite what to expect. There is a path, and as I look back, in retrospect, and I work a lot with novice teachers and experienced teachers, I can actually, see parallels. And I think this is what I'm going to try and trace this walk, this path which we go through. In other way, it's a bit like raising a child because you really never know what to expect and how to react and so on. So I think it's an interesting parallel. But let's move on. And what I thought about when I added this slide is that when I joined the teaching profession, it was alluring to me. I know we all know that it's a difficult profession, and we hear a lot of stories. And when I was in teacher training college, we used to hear about teacher burnout a lot, and we saw how difficult it was. But there is an allure to it. It's what I call a theatre of possibilities, because it is dramatic, it is passionate, and I think in a way this is what we search for. And as we progress professionally, our first few years as young teachers, it's very much understanding the working space in which we are. What is that space? Who am I dealing with? And inevitably, and I find this a lot as I watch, observe lessons, as I talk to younger teachers, and as I look at myself, there is that moment when we grab center stage, when we feel that we are the leaders of that moment, that's our aim in the classroom, to guide students, to work with them, but to take them along. We assume a center stage, and we feel good in that position. And I actually think it's an essential position early on in our professional lives because it helps us understand where we're standing and how we're working. But what we find as we progress is that all of this passion and the action which we're involved with, it does take up a lot of our time. There is a moment in our careers where I think we find that it's really quite difficult to understand what is our professional life and what is our personal life. It becomes so enmeshed, it becomes one thing, and it's difficult to separate it. And I think this is a crucial point in our professional development, which is when we can begin understanding that we need to step back a bit and look at things from a wider perspective, because otherwise we're not going to pick up the detail. If we're so thrown into the deep end and engaged, and it's that time when someone says, can you substitute a lesson, and say, yes, I can. You've never taught that level before. When someone says, can you organize an event? Yes, I can. We can everything because we're so enthused by it. But it's also a crucial moment when we need to step back and look at the detail. So we've got to begin to pinpoint things. And I think this is when we really need to begin asking questions. So for example, it's that very quiet student in the back of the room. Why is he so quiet? Why is he so quiet, or why is she so quiet when they actually contribute so well? Or for example, it might be that learner who's overly engaged. Why do they need to be so, enthusiastic, so energetic? What is happening? And when we have to look at ourselves and think, why can't I seem to get on with this? Why can't I do this well? What can I do to improve? And I think that's the moment when I call it the Alice in Wonderland syndrome. And this is something I've coined and thought of myself, because I think this is the moment when we suddenly discover that there is a world out there which suddenly we hadn't realized we actually belong to. There is a world out there asking the same questions we are asking. But our question is, how do we get there? So this is why I call it the Alice in Wonderland syndrome, because we can see the door, but we don't know how to get there. And we have to find the right key to open that door. And for me, that right key is when we find it, it's when we open up a world of possibilities again. And I think this is where teaching associations come in, and everything we've been talking about this morning. It's when we have a chance to be able to ask those questions we would like to answer. We can't do it by ourselves. Because if we just keep ourselves in the classroom and just continue doing everything we were doing, we're not going to find the answers. We might find some answers, the answers we need to answer our own very small questions. But I think you agree, just from the experience this morning, that if we're able to ask questions and listen to colleagues who might be also asking the same questions, we might find we come up with answers which are far more interesting. So we have to meander through these gardens and these forests and have the chance to ask the questions. What if, and I can see Alexandra asking her question, what if I can't see the key? Well, that's it. That's what an association can help you find the key. Because sometimes it's not open to us, but it's only when we work collectively, collaboratively, engaged as part of a community. And we can have multiple communities. We can. That's the beauty of it. It just doesn't have to be one single community. It can be multiple ones. We can belong to BRAZ TESOL. We can belong to TEFL. We can belong to special study groups we set up in our own schools, which we just set up because we want to ask questions and answer questions. It's research and action. It's so many things, and that's where the beauty of it all comes in. And I think being able to find these learning spaces is important. And a learning teaching space does not have to be a conventional one. And I think this is really important. I think, you know, you turn the corner and you suddenly find yourself faced with a situation in which a learning opportunity can happen. And we need to make the best of it. And probably, as I always say, one of the most richest learning opportunities I had was when we did a BRAZ TESOL event with Luke Meddings, teaching Unplugged here in Rio. And the most momentous moment happened when we were gathered around this fallen tree, and we had the richest moment for professional development ever. So it doesn't have to be within four walls, but it does have to involve people. And I think this is the main point. We don't need to be alone. To keep our profession going, we need to work together. And I think at the end of the day, an association actually brings this this possibility to us. And just look at how many people we have online and from different countries as well. This is the richest thing possible. And we have technology to help us with this today as well. So it can be up close and personal, but it can be at a distance through the internet as well. So we need, exactly, Daniel was saying, we need to overcome this fear of asking questions and working together. I think this is how we sustain our professional development, and I see it's how we root ourselves and how we maintain the life force we have in our teaching careers, and we need both sides in our lives to be able to carry on. So I think this is what I wanted to say this morning. I think my 1 minute is running by and almost finishing. Thank you very much for being with us, and I hope we find our own path and build our own histories and trails and future perspectives in our own career. And thank you all very much for being here this morning, so that we can all share this wonderful opportunity. So I think that's me done. Thank you, Rob.